AJ Lee next WWE opponent announced. The next opponent for WWE Women's Intercontinental Champion AJ Lee is now confirmed after tonight's episode of Raw. Lee won the Women's IC title from Becky Lynch at Elimination Chamber on February 28. On tonight's WWE Raw, a 6-woman gauntlet match took place to determine her first challenger for the championship. The gauntlet kicked off with Lyra Valkyria and Io Sky, with Sky scoring the win to advance. Next out to face Sky was Raquel Rodriguez. Sky again picked up the win, but she was attacked after the fall by Rodriguez, who left Sky down and out in the ring. The next entrant, Ivy Nile, then immediately came out and pinned Sky off the back of Rodriguez's attack. Next out to face Nile was Bayley, with the two having a competitive match that saw Bayley emerge as the victor. The last round of the gauntlet was therefore Bayley vs Asuka to determine the WWE Women's IC title #1 contender. Bayley ended up scoring the win by countering the Asuka lock into a rose plant after Valkyria came back out as the equalizer for Kairi Sane, who was in Asuka's corner. The championship match between AJ Lee and Bayley will take place on next week's WWE Raw. Paul Heyman WWE injury confirmed. WWE has provided an injury update on Paul Heyman following the events of last week's episode of Monday Night Raw. Last week, after officially returning at Elimination Chamber, Seth Rollins made his first WWE Raw appearance in a number of months. The appearance saw him use his masked recruits to help him isolate Paul Heyman in the middle of the ring. Rollins then struck Heyman in the back with a steel chair and landed a curb stomp as well. Heyman was then loaded into an ambulance, although it had been hijacked by LA Knight, who drove Heyman away, and that was the last we heard last week. This week's WWE Raw opened with Rollins getting into a confrontation with Raw General Manager Adam Pearce over his actions, as well as the Vision's Logan Paul and Austin Theory. After that segment took place, the announcers provided an update on the status of Heyman. Michael Cole stated that Heyman had suffered a cervical spinal contusion, facial lacerations, and a deviated septum. Cole said there was no timetable for Heyman's return. Brock Lesnar, who has had Heyman with him for his last few appearances, is set to return to WWE Raw next week. WWE star kicked out of Judgment Day. A WWE star looks to have been kicked out of the Judgment Day faction during tonight's March 9th episode of Raw. There has been tension brewing within the Judgment Day upwards of a year now, specifically between Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. Tonight on WWE Raw, after Balor refused to help Mysterio last week, which caused Mysterio to lose his Intercontinental title to Penta, Mysterio, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez all came out to the ring. Mysterio called out Balor, which led to both Balor and JD McDonough coming out. It wasn't long before things got heated and eventually Balor and Mysterio came to blows. As it looked like Balor had the upper hand, McDonough stepped in and took out Balor, making it clear that his affiliation lies with Mysterio, Morgan and Rodriguez. All four of them then ambushed Balor, who is now a clear babyface, which is something that had been teased for the past few months. The Usos confront CM Punk about mentioning Roman Reigns' dead father on WWE Raw. Tonight on WWE Raw, the Usos confronted CM Punk about mentioning Roman Reigns' dead father on last week's episode. Last week's Raw ended with CM Punk telling Roman Reigns that he was going to bury Reigns next to his father. Tonight, the end of WWE Raw saw Punk head to the ring again, but this time it was the Usos who came out to join Punk in the ring. Jey Uso was particularly heated and got in Punk's face, demanding an apology. Jimmy Uso pulled Jey back and was more reserved in his approach, but he too requested an apology, saying that he respects CM Punk as the voice of the voiceless, but what you did last week was disrespect our late uncle who doesn't have a voice. Punk then spoke about his relationship with Roman Reigns' father Sika and Sika's brother Alpha, saying he got to sit under the Wild Samoans' learning tree when he was coming up in the business. CM Punk apologizes, the Usos. The Usos continued to demand Punk say, "I'm sorry," which he did, but followed up by saying he was sorry for everything Reigns had done to the Usos and the rest of the Samoan family over the past few years. He said, "I'm sorry that Roman Reigns treated you and the rest of the bloodline like garbage for years and never once came out here to publicly apologize for the way he treated his family that he loves. I'm sorry Roman Reigns disrespected one of my mentors, the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, the father of my friend Cody when he called him irrelevant, but somehow isn't on the hook for apologizing, but I am. I'm sorry that Roman Reigns has tricked you, and the entire Samoan family, and these people that he gives a single damn about any of you or any of this, because if he cared about you or the people, or me, or this company or this business, I'd be standing in the ring talking to him right now, instead of his young boys. This led to Jay shoving him and Jimmy striking him with a punch that knocked him down. The Usos then left the ring with Punk saying, "I deserve that," as WWE Raw went off the air. Roman Reigns, who wasn't at the show tonight, will return to Raw next week.